So I just checked into a hotel in a village called Sieste in the Pyrenees, and I'm close to one of the biggest reservoirs in the entire mountain range called Embalse de Mediano. And the plan is to cycle around it tomorrow. So I've planned a route of about 70 kilometers, and it's going to involve about 1,000 meters of elevation gain. I don't have my normal bike with me. It needs some work, so I brought a folding bike with me. So I'm a little bit apprehensive about how well I'm going to get on doing this long ride up all these mountains with a folding bike, but the scenery is amazing around here. I drove here today and yeah, there were some really incredible landscapes, so I'm excited to check it out tomorrow. I think I'll start as early as I can in the morning after breakfast, and then I think it'll take me all day, maybe 10 hours or something like that. So it's going to be interesting. So obviously no one is sponsoring this video because I have about 5 subscribers and my videos get about 10 views each typically. But I just wanted to mention that I'm using Komoot. I used Komoot to plan this route. So I think I chose the gravel bike option. And for that reason, I'm on a sort of gravel track at the moment. And this is the type of riding I really like to do. Obviously I have to take some roads today, but I'm going to take tracks like this as much as I can. I'm also tracking this ride on Strava because I am deviating from the Komoot route every now and then. So yeah, if you want to check out the route, I'll provide the links to Komoot and Strava down below. So to start with, I have about 8 kilometers of this amazing path beside the river, and that's going to lead me to a town by the name of something like Aensa, which is at the north end of the reservoir. And from there, I'm going to follow a road closely along the reservoir down towards the bottom. And one of the cool things that can be seen at the south end of the reservoir is a church that was submerged when the reservoir was created. And these days, all you can see is the top sort of few meters of the church spire sticking out of the water. So the path is now leading slightly away from the river, and there's a sort of detour inland that I'm supposed to take, but I can see that really I just need to go down there, cross over to the left, and then I'll be ending up just over there a bit later. So I'm thinking rather than do that, I might just climb down this bank of rocks here and try to make my way across the river. So I made it across the water. That wasn't too bad. Now I just need to see whether I can make my way up this big bank of rocks on the other side and get myself back on the path. So we just made it into the town of Aensa. Basically, this is where the river meets the reservoir. So I'm going to go try find the reservoir. I think I have to go onto a road for a bit. So I'm jumping off of the road for a bit. I'm not sure how well you can see this, but the main road goes around like this. But I thought it'd be more interesting to cut across this sort of hill between these two sections of the main road. I've seen on the elevation profile for this route that I'm currently at about 500 meters. I think the highest point today is about 780, and doing this little bit across here, I think it's going to take me to about 600. So my plan to deviate from the road, that hasn't worked out too well because the route I planned on Komoot has led me to the actual reservoir. So I'm going to head back to the road and hopefully I'll find a way of mixing things up a bit later. So I'm just hanging out at a bus stop, taking a small break. I just did my first biggish climb from about 500 meters up to about 650. Doing it on the folding bike, of course, is quite challenging because the first gear is really not that easy. And of course, this sort of bike is not made for this type of thing. So I made it down to the south side of the reservoir, and I can just about see the church that I mentioned sticking out of the water over there. So I looked it up, and apparently it was built in the 16th century. And this, well, the dam just down the road here, I think was built in the 70s. And of course, when it was created, it submerged what was the old town of Mediano. I am quite close, I believe, to the dam. I think it's just a little bit down this way. So I think I might as well go check that out. And then I'll make my way to the new town of Mediano. And I believe there are some pretty impressive gorges down there. So I made it to the dam where there are these really amazing views of the reservoir, which is this incredible sort of turquoise color. I can actually see the church again poking out through the water just over there. I can see some snowy mountains in the distance. And I've been looking at the map, and I was considering sort of going along the dam a bit more and then straight up into the mountains, because I really like the idea of sort of just sticking close to the reservoir. But I've seen some pictures of the routes, and I don't think it's doable with a bike, even if it's just a small folding bike that I can carry. So I think the plan is to head back to the main road, and then I'll head on up into the mountains a little bit later. So I made it back to the main road a while ago, and I recently made it down to the gorge that I mentioned, which is in this direction over here, where I got some more amazing views of this incredible turquoise water. And the roads have been quite steep around here, so I've been walking a fair bit. But yeah, I think I'm maybe about 500 or 600 meters up at the moment. The highest point of the route is about 780, which I think is coming up soon. So yeah, I'm going to hop back on my bike and keep on walking up this road and up into the mountains. So I finally made it to the top of the first of two 700-meter plus climbs of the day, and to welcome me to the top of the first climb is this beautiful little chapel. So from here I actually have amazing views of some snowy mountains in the distance, and I can see that there is a nice looking descent coming up. So there was, of course, an easy way of going in the direction I wanted, but I saw that a river crossing was marked on the map, and I couldn't resist it. So I turned off the main road a little while ago and went down some bumpy tracks and through a field, and that has brought me here to this river crossing. And assuming I make it across the river with my bike, hopefully the path should follow the river for a while, and I'm hoping to get to another town a little bit north of here at some point soon. So I just passed through the town of Tierrantona, and I was relieved to get there because I was running quite low on water. And I noticed on Strava as well that there were a few fountains shown on the map. So I ended up using one of those fountains to refill my water bottles, and hopefully now I've got enough water to see me through to the end of the day. After leaving the town, I had a brief encounter with a farm dog. It took me a little while to get away from him because every time I would try to leave, he would start barking. Every time I'd go towards him, he would back up. But yeah, it took me a while to get out of that situation. But now I'm just taking a little break beside a river, and it's about 5 o'clock now. So as soon as I'm finished with this break, I'm going to get back on the bike and head back towards the mountains. So I've been on the main road for about 30 minutes now, and it's been perfectly fine. There hasn't been too much traffic, and there's still been lots of nice scenery. And I could just take this nice, easy main road back to town, about 9 kilometers. But I thought instead I'll take this winding road or track and see whether that might be a more interesting way of getting back to the start. So I think the last time I checked in, I was heading up into some mountains. I saw that there was a single track listed on the map, and I attempted to go up that for a while before falling over and hurting myself and realizing that it probably wasn't the best idea. So in the end, I turned around and made my way back to the main road, and now I have arrived back in the town of Ainsa just in time for sunset. I still have to get from this town back to my hotel, which is another 10 kilometers away or so. But for the video, I'm going to leave it there, as you've already seen that section. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.